Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe.
Krishna himself descended to earth as Gora to experience his own sweetness and the sweetness of Srimati Radhika's love for him. For this, he became Virahi, experiencing separation from himself, and taught all the sadhakas of the world that one must first experience Viraha before being able to relish Milan. In this way, he increases the Prema Sindhu, the ocean of love of his devotees. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami also relishes Sri Radhika's sweetness through Viraha, although he is her eternally perfect maidservant. Sri Radhika always acts for Mohan's welfare. Therefore, she is named Kalyani. In this verse, Nanda Maharaj daily feeds millions of brahmanas for Mohan's Kalyan, and Mother Yashoda gets up early every morning to pronounce mantras for Mohan's protection before he goes out into the forest. Mohan's constitutionally transcendental name is the fruit of the vines of all the Vedas, is sweeter than sweet and more auspicious than all that is auspicious. But Sri Radhika is auspicious even for him. This can be nicely illustrated by the following song of Govinda Das describing Radha and Mohan's Purvarag, beginnings of love. One Duti, girl messenger, came to Sri Radhika to tell her how much Mohan is in love with her. Radhe, when Subal gives Mohan a golden garland of champaka flowers, his mind trembles and tears of passionate love flow from his eyes. O beautiful girl, your form always awakens great love in his heart. Day and night he murmurs Vrishabhanu Nandini without saying anything else out of confusion. Although hundreds of thousands of girls speak sweet words to him, he does not listen to them even in dreams. He can only pronounce the first syllable of your name, Ra, but out of ecstasy he cannot pronounce the other one, Da. His eyes carry streams of tears. That jewel of men rolls on the ground. Who can describe his distress? Govinda Das submits this news about Mohan to your lotus feet. Know that he feels miserable and that only your grace, Kalyan, can destroy his suffering. One morning, Radharani sees Mohan with the signs of Chandravali's lovemaking on his body. So she becomes angry with him and refuses to speak with him. Her Sakhis tell her, O Radhe, the whole of Braja is miserably suffering because of your stubborn huff towards Mohan, everyone is unhappy except you. He who is the life of Braja rolls on the ground and has given up eating and sleeping out of misery. He has become weak and skinny. Seeing his condition, all the mobile and immobile creatures of Raja are also loudly crying. Only you are happy, giving milk to the snake of your pick. How is that auspicious? This is not auspicious. Give up your pick. Out of separation, Sri Raghunath Das says, you are my Kalyani. Not only is Sri Radhika auspicious for Mohan, she is auspicious to the whole world, for she gives joy to the world as God's pleasure potency, of which the essence is prema, love. She gives that transcendental loving ecstasy to all the devotees, and thus sustains their lives. The Upanishads speak of Shreya, Kalyan, or that which is good for us, and prayer, what we like. The saints accept that what is auspicious and beneficial, and the fools accept what they like most, the temporary, sensual happiness. And what is welfare? Srila Ramananda Rai said,
Again read this one. Fool.
the saints accept that which is auspicious and beneficial.
Underline.
It is underlined, Gurudev. And the fools accept what they like most, temporary, sensual happiness. And what is welfare? Srila Ramananda Rai said, Krishna Bhakta Sangha Vina Shreya Nahi Ar. There's no other welfare than association with Mohan's devotees. From the viewpoint of Leela, Sri Radhika is indeed auspicious for the whole world. Mohan creates the world through his Ichcha Shakti, desire potency. And what is his desire? He desires Radhika. Therefore, without her pleasure potency, the world cannot live. Without Mohan's desire, personified by Radhika, there is no material world. Without the material world, there are no material bodies. Without material bodies, there is no sadhana.
Underlined.
It's all underlined. And without sadhana, there's no prema.
What is sadhana? Inner blockage has to remove. That is sadhana. By the bhakti, outside is no sadhana. How to help our Brahmana, that has to do with inner sadhana.
Yes.
And without chanting, no way out. Without reading pastime, no way out. Brahmana cannot talk in same level. How they talk, if you answer this, they will not recognize. You have to say something new that you don't know that. Then they will be accepted. Brahmana. Even the old teacher will not listen to anyone. He wants to control. We don't want to so independent because they are marginal. They are independent and they are conditioned, full condition. So they don't want to behave normal. Prabhupada works because they not get the mercy of pleasure-giving potency. So they are not normal. They are blocked. Yeah. Controlled by ego. They are the preachers. Open the door.
It's open.
Who is that?
Somebody opened and left.
Be careful to teach them. You have to be very tolerant to listen that make empty to them. That tolerance everybody has not. When they become empty, then they will something they can relate. Wow. Which number is this? Very good.
12.
Huh?
12.
Wow.
Without Mohan's desire, personified by Radhika, there is no material world. Without the material world, there are no material bodies. Without material bodies, there is no sadhana. And without sadhana, there is no prema. All the senses of a Jatarati Bhakta, a devotee who has attained a strong taste for bhajan, have become deaf for the impressions from the material world.
Yeah.
He only hears Radhika's ankle bells, and he is not disturbed by material allurements.
I underline.
He only hears Radhika's ankle bells, and he is not disturbed by the material allurements. For him, the material world goes out of sight, and the Nikunja comes in sight. He hears Mohan's flute and sees his bluish effulgence mixing with Radhika's golden effulgence. He feels the touch of their lotus feet. Srila Rupa Goswami says, "Your speech is like a stream of nectar, so strong that it will flush the trees of my material existence away."
My again.
Srila Rupa Goswami says, "Your speech is like a stream of nectar, so strong that it will flush the trees of my material existence away."
Underline.
And Govinda Kaviraj says, "I have locked my outside door and have opened my inside door, reaching to my Manjari Swarup." Worldly people cannot understand this ecstasy. Who else but a person who has awakened his internal identity can address Radharani like this, calling her Kalyani?
Oh.
Srila Bilvamangal Thakur glorified the jingling of Mohan's ankle bells in his Krishna Karnamrita. May the sweet jingling of the jeweled ankle bells of the gopi lover Mohan, that sounds like the cooing of the swans in the lotus forest of the Yamuna river, be manifest in my mind. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj writes in his commentary on this verse that the jingling of Mohan's ankle bells is so relishable because he is following Srimati Radhika at that time. Then how can we describe the sweetness of the jingling of Sri Radhika's ankle bells?
Again.
May the sweet jingling of the jeweled ankle bells of the gopi lover Mohan, that sounds like the cooing of the swans in a lotus forest of the Yamuna river, be manifest in my mind. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj writes in his commentary on this verse that the jingling of Mohan's ankle bells is so relishable because he is following Srimati Radhika at that time. Then how can we describe the sweetness of the jingling of Sri Radhika's ankle bells when she is followed by Mohan? Swans are eating lotus stems by the bank of the Yamuna to enhance the beauty of their voices, thinking, if by eating these lotus stems my voice could only attain at least 1,000th part of the sweetness of the jingling of Mohan's ankle bells, just as a pupil hopes he can sing or explain just as good as his teacher can in the future, what then to speak of the sweetness of the jingling of Sri Radhika's ankle bells? Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati writes, when can I see Sri Radha with her charming form shyly looking down at her own toes when she sees the moon-like face of Mohan, the king of relishers, from afar, as she steps along with jingling ankle bells? The endless streams of Mahabhav that gush from Radhika's limbs when she experiences the ecstasy of seeing Mohan sprinkle her ankle bells and make their jingling sound like an ocean of nectar. Sri Raghunath Das says, please let me relish just one drop of the sweet nectar of this jingling. His heart is filled with this strong desire, and this desire always increases, causing him to lament like this. Words cannot fully describe these lamentations. Through these prayers, the absorption of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami can be experienced. Not everyone can be addressed so lovingly with Kalyani, all auspicious Swamini. The sweetness of this address does not indicate the heart's perception of anything from this material world. These transcendental pastimes bloom up within the heart in such a way that nothing from the visible world can be perceived within the heart anymore. Material consciousness muddles the heart of the aspirant. This experience cannot be had through mere dry knowledge, but only through pure love, characterized by an intense feeling of mindness. The great sage Sukadev was astonished by the feelings of mindness felt towards Mohan by his loving devotees in Vraja, and he told Maharaja Parikshit, the Lord, who is called Adokshaja, he who is not perceivable through the material senses, has no inside, no outside, no before, and no after. He is pervading the whole world, from east to west, inside and outside, and his form is the world itself. But now he has allowed himself to be bound to a grinding mortar by his gopi mother, just like an ordinary mortal human child. Here, the all-pervading Lord loses his omnipotence. What is impossible in the world of Tattva becomes possible in the world of Leela. Although Mohan is the Supreme Lord who cannot be perceived even by great mystics, he still allows his cowherd boyfriend Sridham to mount his shoulders after he lost a game. The Supreme Lord, whose lotus feet cannot even be perceived by the greatest mystics, now holds his lotus feet on the chests of his cowherd boyfriends. There is no comparison to the amorous relationship a devotee can have with the Lord. His beloved is sitting in a kunja, being angry with him, and the Lord stands at the kunja gate with tear-filled eyes, like a beggar, like an offender. Manamayi, proud Radhika, then angrily rebukes him, saying, "Go Madhava, go Keshava, do not speak your false words to me. Just follow that girl who removes your sorrow." O lotus-eyed one, prema really becomes manifest when there develops a feeling of he or she is mine. Lord Brahma prayed to Mohan in the Bhagavad, "Everyone may say that he knows you in full. Let them know it. What more can I say? O Lord, I cannot perceive your greatness with my mind, body, or words. But in Vraja, a tailor will come up to Mohan with a yardstick to see what his size is. This is the wonderful power of the love of Vraja. The address Kalyani is illuminated by the sweet luster of Radha and Mohan's mutual relish of each other. The Acharyas have taught we must see Mohan from Radharani's perspective, and Radharani from Mohan's perspective. Mohan bestows auspiciousness on the world, but Srimati Radhika bestows auspiciousness even on him. Mohan considers himself blessed when he attains Radhika's company. He feels that his world is empty without her, and she feels the same towards him. Rishabhanu's daughter thinks, "I fell in love with he who can never be possibly attained, and out of love I cannot even die of shame. There's no end to the chastisements of my superiors. I'm completely controlled by others. What a contrary condition. Why don't I die? The parrots can see Mohan, but there's no way for me to see him. Mohan also cries for Radhika all night, missing her, although he is Ananda Gana Vigraha, the very form of intense, transcendental bliss. And when he opens his eyes, he thinks he sees his mother giving him a cloth that is yellow, like haldi. In this way, he remembers her again. Who in this world knows how to love like her? Still, Mohan did not manage to experience her love fully, so he accepted her mood and her complexion and showed an anurag similar to Radhika's. During the final 12 years of his manifest appearance, Sri Gauranga was burning in the fire of that love and separation. What a condition for the embodiment of transcendental bliss. Each pore of his hair was on fire. That is the agony of Mohan's Kalyana Karini, Sri Radhika, who acts for Mohan's welfare. With his own hand, Mohan completed a verse of Gita Govinda with the words, Dehi Pada Pallavam Udaram. Radhe, give me your generous lotus feet. It is as if Mohan says to the poet Jayadev, O Jayadev, why are you hesitating to write this down? My whole life is fulfilled when I attain these lotus feet. Who else knows how to love but she? The whole world tells me, give, give. Only she says, take, take. She worships Mohan in a form that fulfills his desires, and thus the Puranas call her Radhika. She is the queen of the Kunja cottage, who makes eager Mohan enjoy so much, as if he is a beggar getting a meal in a royal palace. Sri Raghunath Das says, you are making everything auspicious for Mohan. We are happy to see that. When will your ankle bells that jingle while you fulfill all of Mohan's desires remove my deafness, so that I will not desire to hear anything else anymore? The jingling of these ankle bells takes place when the Shyamaras is relished. But these ankle bells don't just jingle straight away. They jingle only within this relish. This sound will awaken such devotional yearning that the ears do not want to hear anything else anymore. This is the poetic secondary meaning of the word badirya, or deafness. Hearing material sound vibrations is also meant as deafness here. In this connection, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that which is night to all beings, in that state of transcendental bliss, the self-controlled saint keeps awake, and that temporary material happiness in which all beings keep awake is night to the seer. Then Sri Raghunath Das says, then Sri Raghunath Das sees a sweet pastime through his spiritual eyes. Radha and Mohan dance the rasa. Mohan stands still, and Radhika's ankle bells give the rhythm to the sweet tune of his flute, which is the emperor of sounds, and increase that sweetness. Meanwhile, Mohan relishes the sweet jingling of Radhika's ankle bells, as well as the sweetness of his own flute playing, which is like an ocean of sweetness. That sound, that tune, is the great opulence of the kingdom of God. This sweetness makes everything sweet and reverses the natural behavior of all living beings. It stuns the moving creatures and it causes the trees to get goose pimples of ecstasy. In this way, the jingling of Radhika's ankle bells causes the ocean of sweetness of Mohan's flute song to increase. Sri Rupa Goswami writes, O all-pervading Lord, when will my ears attain the regal opulence of the best of the sound vibrations when I hear your flute song, which is mixed with the jingling of Radhika's ankle bells, that defeats the sweetness of the warbling of Lord Brahma's swan, and that delights my dull ears. The dullness Rupa Goswami mentions here is the same as the deafness Dasa Goswami mentions in this verse. Mohan is the relisher of the jingling of Srimati's ankle bells, and the relish of the sweetness of this nectar ocean awakens in Tulasi's heart through Mohan's relish. Then suddenly, one ankle bell falls off Swamini's lotus feet and stops jingling. It is as if something is missing then. Tulasi stretches her hand out to put the ankle bells back on, and then suddenly this spiritual vision disappears, leaving Sri Raghunath Das to lament, when will the jingling sound of your ankle bells remove my deafness? Sri Rasika Chandra Das sings, alas, Srimati Radhike, O embodiment of auspiciousness, my ears are incomparably deaf, and the sound of your ankle bells is like an ocean of nectar. When will this sound enter into my ears and increase the bliss that I desire there, thus destroying the disease of deafness at the root? This is the end of verse 12.
Radhe Radhe Goswami